No one has ever gotten older and said that they had too much money.
If you can't pay for it in cash, means you can't afford it.
23, I've got about 60 grand in savings.
So today we're going to be talking about something that I know at least some of you like to see on this channel, and that's some of the best financial decisions people have made. Taking a little bit of a break from the train wreck stories we go over, and we could see some of the good choices people make with their finances. We have a lot of different examples to go over, along with some of your comments with your best decisions from previous videos, so if you want to be featured on a future video, leave it in the comments down below. But let's just jump right into it.
If you can't pay for it in cash, means you can't afford it. The best advice I got, put that credit card away, rip it up, throw it away.
Why not?
Because you're going to be broke by the time you're 40, paying all those interest rates and keep paying the minimum, and you'll never get there. And I have a 22-year-old daughter. I feel bad for her because it's tough for them to make it. Prices are way too high, incomes are not enough. It's tough to save these days.
So I mean, a pretty straightforward statement, but one of the counter arguments that I hear when people say this every single time is that nobody can afford to pay for a house in cash. So I guess this means the advice is completely invalid, and I don't have to tell you guys how bad it is to put absolutely everything on credit when you can't pay the bill at the end of the month. But in today's age with the internet and rampant consumerism, whether you're trying to mimic the social media influencers or celebrities we see online, or you're doom spending because there's no hope for the future, this kind of stuff only seems to be getting worse, and is exactly why I make these types of videos, to try to deter people from ruining their lives financially. We can look at some of the comments: pay the balance in full, earn points, and build credit. Because I'm not like Dave Ramsey, I think if you know how to use your credit card wisely, it's a very easy way to get points or miles or just free cash back when you're already going to be paying for necessities, bills, grocery store, gas, anything like that. And I mean, that goes with the next comment: America runs on credit, just be responsible. A lot of people are not, and I definitely had the same thought here. If you can't pay for it in cash, you can't afford it, combined with I feel bad because it's so hard to save these days, is quite the combo. We've definitely gone over my cost of living videos, and people go absolutely off the rails and buy anything and everything they see. Using credit cards require discipline. If you can only pay the minimum, don't use the card. And up next, we have quite the contrary of the normal type of clips we see from Caleb. This is one of the follow-up episodes where they're actually turning around their lives.
You made a lot of progress. You paid off at least $13,000. Like, that's incredible. And you're about to pay off $5,000. Like, this is great. This is a very positive follow-up, which I am so happy to see. You are in the statistical norm, except you actually beat the statistical norm of how much you paid off within the time frame of people that normally come on the show. What I need you to do now is really focus on saving for this move. That is everything.
Yep.
And then focus getting through school, apply for every scholarship you can, and then we pay down those student loans, and then you can just really live an incredible life with an incredible income. That's the focus now. Hammer financial score last time.
0.5. Rounded up for niceties.
Yeah, because you got a 1 out of 10 for your debt, 1 out of 10 for your retirement, but everything else brought it down. So Hammer financial score this time from 0.5 to a 2.5. That's a huge score increase in just 5 months, and that's something to be proud of, okay? It really is. So high fives, high fives.
Very different from the train wreck stories we normally see from Caleb. And I would say there's a good amount of people on the follow-up videos that are doing just as bad. They're in the same hole, if not worse. They don't care. But it is nice to see that people are actually taking the show and what he's saying seriously and making their lives better because of it. The top comment is what everybody's thinking. First time I've seen him not yelling at someone. I wanted to be on this show for a while. All the yelling at people I took to heart and wanted to make Caleb proud. We paid off $52,000 in 3 years, and now I don't have a reason to be on this show. Now, clearly I don't have a podcast or a show like him, but I would hope that's what the high car payment videos and the really bad debt videos show you. Honestly, almost like it's scared straight seeing somebody with a $1,200 or $1,500 a month car payment on a new vehicle that's actively depreciating, and then others in 6 figures worth of debt. I mean, I think the most we've seen, somebody had around $650,000 worth of debt, and honestly just being completely screwed. And hopefully it works for some people, and we have your comments from the last video when I asked what was your best financial decisions. Not spending my 2025 bonus and tax return all at once. We went over that as well. People putting a down payment on a brand new car. The amount of people who went to Disney blowing all of their tax returns, which was their money in the first place. The government just took more than they were supposed to. It's not like you're getting a free check from the government on top of your wages. Those were your wages to begin with, but at least somebody didn't spend it all in one place. We have another one: investing, people putting into their 401ks, throwing extra money money at the mortgage. Changing phones from T-Mobile to Mint, $900 a year was crazy. Getting an emergency fund and a high yield savings account. This person was saving a lot of their income, also doing overtime, and then in 2020, probably one of the best times to buy a house, they put 20% down with a 2.9% interest rate, which I don't have to tell you is unheard of right now. Even the 20% down payment seems like it's almost a thing of the past. The amount of ads I'm seeing of putting 1, 2, or 3% down, extremely dangerous game. We'll talk about that in a later video. Not getting pulled into the car culture, I am very happy that I never did that as well. And we have a lot more budgeting and investing. There were a lot of comments from you guys. And up next, we could talk about some of the money traps that some people do fall into.
These are the money traps that you think are normal but are actually just destroying you. First things first, upgrading your phone every single year. Oh my god, this makes me sick. You're spending $1,500 to get the same exact phone with like a 5% better camera. It's pointless. Don't do it. Throw that money at your credit card debt. 2, financing furniture you cannot afford. 3, treat yourself after every minor inconvenience. You don't need that sweet treat. You don't need your nails done. You don't need your hair done. Spending thousands of bucks a month on, treating yourself. All right, next up. Paying subscriptions you forgot about. What's next? Acting rich because your friends are? Oh my god. Look, if you have to do that, they're not your real friends. Never checking your bank statement. Are you a kid? Are you 10 years old? Okay, last one. Spending 10 times more on a weekend than weekdays. Woo! For those of you who like to go out, this is a killer. It's like being on a diet freaking 5 days out of the week, and then the last 2 days you binge.
I think that's a great comparison for the end, especially normal 9 to 5s, Monday through Friday. You could be very disciplined with your money, but by the end of the week, you're tired, you just want to hang out. Those 2 days you're off could set you back to square one. Some people definitely still do upgrade their phone every year, but whether you like iPhones or the Samsung Galaxy, really any of the smartphones in this day and age that come out every year, you're getting very, very minimal upgrades each time, and they're only getting more expensive. And one that I talk about all the time, not checking your bank statements or your credit card balances. There is no excuse now. We all sit on our phones every single day, and every bank under the sun has its own app that with a couple clicks, you could see exactly how much you're spending, how much you have saved. From someone who got a brand new car that now costs what I have left to pay, don't do it. Maybe get a 2018 or 2019 at newest, no more than $20,000. A new car is a trap if you can't afford it twice. So however long this guy has been paying his monthly car payment, he's just gotten out of being upside down on his vehicle, and that's why so many people have negative equity. The depreciation on modern vehicles that are terrible right now are just brutal on people's finances. Another one of the comments, who is paying for dating apps? I don't know how much money they'd be. I bet there's probably a whole bunch of subscriptions and whatever the developers could think, and I bet somebody's paying a ridiculous amount of money for it. We have a comment from one of you guys. I'm 22 and drive a beat up 06 Honda Ridgeline with just over 370,000 miles on it. I have just over $70,000 saved in retirement and another $48,000 in long-term savings fund for a down payment on a car or house. Investing early is probably the best thing you could ever do. If you're in your teens or 20s and have kids that age, teach them about investing. I guess I could say that I was somewhat lucky in being genuinely interested in being able to save and make more money, because probably at around 21, 22 is where I took my finances very seriously. I was watching a bunch of different YouTubers, looking stuff up, learning everything that I know now, and because of that, I'm in a better place now. But if I started at 16 or 18 years old, I'd be even farther ahead. I think it is very important for people to learn.
Nobody who makes $50,000 a month is interested in teaching you how to make $50,000 a month unless the way they make $50,000 a month is the subscription fee for teaching you how to make $50,000 a month.
This is kind of the basis for a lot of the bad TikTok advice series, where a good amount of it is the gurus trying to sell you a course, showing that they make all this money in a million different ways. It could be drop shipping, reselling, digital marketing, advertising on TikToks, affiliates. The list really goes on and on. But if they were truly making $50,000 a month, like he said, they wouldn't want to teach you how to do it. They would just keep doing it themselves, because it would just breed competition in their own niche, making them less money overall. So for any of the people around the world who are genuinely making incredible money doing a weird niche, you'll probably never know about it because they don't want you to know about it. We could look at some of the comments. There is no real easy way to get rich. Either you're lucky, win the lottery, or born into wealth, or you have to work work extremely hard. Otherwise, everyone would be making $50,000 a month. Finally, someone said it, and another person, I'd be so quiet if I was making $50,000 a month. No reason to tell everybody else, especially in today's climate. So when you see people with tons of jewelry on and a mansion and a Lamborghini, almost every single time, all of it's just rented for the clip. We have another comment from one of you guys. When you're in your 20s, you tend to worry about what people think of you. When you're in your 40s, you don't really care as much what people think. And when you hit 50s and 60s, you realize that nobody was actually thinking about you at all, since they have their own lives and issues to worry about. That definitely plays into the mass consumerism, mixing with your social media persona, and I'm not just talking about the influencers. We have normal people making their profiles look like the influencer lifestyle, going on vacations, the perfect life that honestly nobody really did, 12, 15 years ago before Instagram? If you were around that time, it was a very different place. Same thing as Facebook. It wasn't nearly as polished. It was just kind of random photos, having fun. You didn't have to look like a supermodel or look like you spent so much money going to Hawaii or something like that. And if you don't have that kind of wealth to back that up today, it's really going to hurt you in the long run. And up next, we have a pretty funny clip that I bet somebody in your life is exactly like the person being talked about.
Here's my impersonation of the most insufferable people on planet Earth. It's my birthday month. What are you saying, dude? You're 32, right?
How many times have we seen that from Caleb's guests or the vacation debt videos? Full-grown adults in their 30s, no birthday, not even a birth week, it's got to be the whole month. I really don't see signs of this stopping as well, because all the videos on social media with the influencers just spoiling their kids, their birthdays are worth $10,000, $20,000 in presents alone. Those kids are going to be the same ones that have birthday months and they need to go and travel Europe just for the occasion. It's insane. Some of the comments, in the kindest way possible, those people need to grow up. I work with someone who actually said this and she was turning 30. I've also heard this as well. There are tons of people with the main character syndrome, and it seems like a pretty quick way to get on the financial audit. We have a comment from one of you guys. The best financial decision I've made is marrying someone with the same frugality level as me. We trust each other with our future financial decisions. I'm not saying that you're only allowed to be with somebody who's super frugal, but being on the same page financially is imperative now. When we're in uncertain times, not really knowing where the economy is going to be going, prices are still rising and jobs are getting rough. If your partner wants to go on vacations almost every month and you're barely living paycheck to paycheck, that seems like a very easy way to get a divorce down the road. Up next, we have one that's in the realm of everybody wanting to be an influencer, and especially if you're in some professions and you make your content around that, there are definitely some consequences.
I don't know what law student needs to hear this, but stop trying to be an influencer. You did not go to law school, get your degree, pay hundreds of $1,000s to risk your legal reputation on TikTok. Specifically, if you are going into big law, you should really reconsider making a bunch of legal content and trying to be an influencer, because these two professions do not mix at all. Again, you did not spend all this money, get all this legal knowledge to become an influencer. It is not worth it. And I'm Gen Z. I'm 25. I'm an attorney. I work at a big law firm. I've been on social media since I was 6 years old. Don't risk your reputation.
Because now it's getting more popular to be a social media influencer in your line of work. It's not just a lawyer trying to be a travel influencer or something like that. They're giving legal advice online. If you slip up and make any mistakes, you can risk your job. That I think all of us know is one of the few jobs that you make a ton of money. All you hear about is doctors and lawyers making boatloads of money. Yes, you can make a lot of money on social media, but as she said, you've already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars getting your degree, going to law school, doing everything you had to do. What's the point of risking it for some attention on social media? And then some of the comments are talking about people who got fired for this. This is how I found out Illegal Advice got fired. I loved her videos. Look at what happened to Any Given Sunday. Therapists, nurses. I see nurses a good amount as well. I can't stand to see it. I know some of the top creators on TikTok, on YouTube are making insane amounts of money. So it definitely is tempting, but you already have a very solid line of work and have put years into getting that job. Most likely a ton of money going into school, getting degrees. I honestly don't think it's worth the risk.
You have to change your mindset with money. You have to be more excited about saving money than spending it. Because when your paycheck comes in every 2 weeks, you have to change your mindset into like, damn, I got paid. I'm able to put away another $250. I'm able to put away another $500. And then you keep going, you keep going, and you keep going. And then eventually it becomes a habit that you can't break. And it's a habit you don't want to break.
But the allure of spending that 100 or 200 or 400 or 500 over time when you're slowly getting pay raises, maybe you get a couple promotions, is exactly what lifestyle creep is. But if you go the other way, you could be in a very good financial position, and who knows, maybe you'd be able to retire earlier from that. I don't know about you, I don't want to be working until I'm in the grave, and we're seeing exactly that happen right now with the boomer generation. What is it going to be like for millennials and Gen Z?
Athletic Greens?
Formulation that it's in.
So this is one of the in-video sponsors that I bet everybody's seen on YouTube, and if you do a little bit of research on your own, you could save a ton of money instead of subscribing to AG1 or Athletic Greens. As he said in the video, if you looked at the ingredients, it was wildly overpriced for what it was. If you really wanted that kind of stuff, you could have gone to a store and saved a lot more money, but this one definitely did the rounds with influencers, so I bet a lot of people fell for it. I still see ads for it to this day. We could look at a couple of the comments. I generally assume any company spamming my podcast isn't a great company. If you sign up for AG1 off a podcast ad, that podcast makes $30 off of every bottle shipped to your house. Athletic Greens used to cost $30, but they pumped up the price and advertising. I think it's $100, and that's what I saw the last time, and that's another reason why you see so much promotion, $30 per container. Say if you get a couple 100,000 views per video, 1% or a 0.5% of your audience could mean thousands of dollars. But just doing a little bit of research instead of just blindly signing up for that $100 each time will definitely save you a bunch of money down the road.
I just read a Harvard study a couple of weeks ago about how they followed 25 families over the course of 25 years. How many kids they had, what their kids did, how much money their kids are making, cars they're driving, houses they're living in. They literally tracked all of these families and how they all kind of branched off. What partner they married, what city they ended up moving to, what job they got, you know, how much money's in their savings account, all of those things. And they started tracking the most important factor, they said, was the people they were hanging out with. And so they said, literally 95% of not only your success, but also 95% of your failure comes from the people that they were tracking you were spending your time with.
And I don't think this statement is too far out there. Everybody's been told you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with most. And to an extent, I do agree with that. People take that too far, and that's how a lot of the alpha mentor groups really get a whole bunch of people to buy into their group because, oh, I'm just going to hang out with millionaires. I'm going to become one eventually. And vast majority of the time, that's not very true. But on the other side of that, if you're hanging out with people who are just wasting all of their money going out to eat all the time, going on vacations, not saving up at all, just to be able to spend time with them, you're going to have to spend that kind of money too. Doing that for years and years or decades could really hurt you in the long run. We have another comment from one of you guys: finishing up paying off my student loans in the next couple of months. Gonna be such a great feeling not having any debt. Can't wait. And that goes very well with the next clip.
I have a master's degree in student services in higher education. I've worked at 2 different schools, and I've worked in admissions and financial aid. So I know what I'm talking about. Please listen to me and stop listening to these random people on TikTok. Also, I wrote an entire paper in grad school. It was like my big project over the student debt crisis. I know that it is real, and I know that it's a huge burden on millions of us. Stop listening to these people on TikTok saying if you send this email, submit this form, call these people, your loans are going to be forgiven, because they're not. Y'all still got to pay your student loans regardless of what happens with the Department of Education. These loan providers work with the Department of Ed to loan us money for school. When you take out money for school, they send those loans to these private loan servicers. But because you got it through the Department of Education, they're still eligible for some loan forgiveness programs. But the reality is that those loan forgiveness programs are probably going to go away too. Y'all have got to pay your loans. You don't owe the Department of Education money. You owe these private loan providers money, and they are going to want their money. Stop listening to random people on TikTok.
And we saw exactly that talking about student debt. There were random people on TikTok saying that you should just be a student forever, be a part-time student at a community college, take a class or two a semester forever, as if that's something you're going to do for the next 60 years of your life, just so you don't have to pay off the loans. But realistically, what's going to happen when you get tired of going to school while you're also working full-time? All of those extra nonsense classes you took just to avoid paying is going to be piled on top of the debt that's already there, making your life even worse. There were others saying that you should job hop every couple of months because somehow it would make it harder for the government to track you, as if you're just going to be invisible because of that. If people want to find you, they're going to find you in this day and age. This is stuff that's not going away. Even if you declare bankruptcy, student loans will be with you until the day you die.
Everyone asks me, how did you afford to travel for 2 months? How did you afford it? This is my car. No license plate, bumper falling off. Sometimes you gotta sacrifice things to do what you love, and that's what I do almost every day for travel.
So this is something that people rarely do in this day and age. She truly loves to travel and go places, so she makes sacrifices. She has an old beat up Corolla, not a brand new 3 Series that's $700 a month, and she probably budgets even more just to be able to do what she does. So if you truly love to travel, or maybe you are a huge car guy, that's fine as long as the hobby doesn't financially break you, or it's all for show on Instagram. The great pictures on the tropical beach, or you having the brand new Corvette getting a whole bunch of likes on Instagram, it's just a waste of money at the end of the day because you don't genuinely like it. You're doing it for the attention of others.
No one has ever gotten older and said that they had too much money. No one has ever regretted putting too much money aside for their retirement. However, there are tens of thousands of people every single day who wish they had started investing sooner, and they wish they hadn't wasted so much money when they were young. Which one of these two people do you want to be? The choice is yours. Choose wisely.
I bet I can make a video 30, 35 years down the road with a lot of people around my age who will never be able to retire because of this. All the doom spending and being upset that the economy is pretty tough right now, which isn't a false statement, but not doing anything to help yourself financially in the future is going to hurt more. Like he said, nobody's complaining that they put too much money into retirement. Oh man, now I gotta take even more vacations, or I could afford even more luxuries. Really, all that we're seeing is the exact opposite right now. People don't have nearly as much money, so there is no retirement anymore.
The biggest threat to consumers' financial health right now in this country is gambling. It is a literal epidemic, and I do not think enough people understand how horrible and dangerous it is and how it's going to probably destroy a generation of people in the coming years. Sports betting was legalized in 2018 by the Supreme Court, and it has created financial devastation that is not getting enough attention. Research has shown that every dollar spent on sports betting reduces your net income by $2.13, which means the impact goes beyond just the money wagered. It can be even negative of that. And of course, you've probably heard that like gambling is addictive, but it is at the level of substance addiction. It psychologically hacks, like it creates the most addictive pattern of reinforcement known in behavioral psychology. And the unpredictable patterns of wins and losses that come with gambling creates a dopamine response more powerful than like any other type of reward, like at the same level of substance addiction. It's like hijacking the exact same neural pathways.
So you probably knew that this was going to be in the video, and I'd like to go a little bit further than what she said, how devastating it is for younger generation. I would say it's mostly men. I've not met a woman who is sitting on DraftKings betting on the Knicks game or whatever. I bet they are out there, but this is overwhelmingly a guy's issue. But with how social media takes gambling, it's almost like a psyop. I know I'm putting on my tinfoil hat, but if you go into any one of the gambling comment sections, nobody ever takes it seriously. It's all a joke. Oh man, this guy's parlays aren't hitting. That's why he hates gambling. Ha ha ha. Just tons and tons of comments like that. And because we don't have to go to the casino, it's right on our phones. It is incredibly easy to get addicted. And we have one of the comments here that I think adds on to the problem in the future. We need to talk about how the companies are grooming children to develop gambling addictions through video games and mystery boxes. Perfect way to get that dopamine started at what, 12 years old? I know sports games are still like that. There have been laws, especially in Europe, that have banned it from games like Call of Duty and that area. But if you want to get a good player in your ultimate team on FIFA or FC 25 now, you got to open up a whole bunch of packs and hope that you get the guy. And I don't know about you, a lot of kids are still playing sports games. Can be a very dangerous situation for the future. Up next, we have a video that's very different than what we normally see. People going up to others, interviewing them. We actually have people saving a good amount of their money.
How old are you and how much do you have in savings?
I'm 28 and I have $40,000 in savings.
23, I've got about 60 grand in savings.
I'm 24 and I have maybe 23 grand or so.
I'm 26.
Okay. So
I don't want to brag.
tell us.
Well, I've got more than 100,000 in savings.
I'm 22 and I have like about 10k in savings.
29 and in savings 30,000 euro.
So normally we see on social media the opposite of these types of clips. They definitely get more views. Videos like this pop up all around college campuses when we're talking about student debt. Oh, I have 20, I have 40, 50, 100, $250,000 in debt. But it is nice to see people making decent decisions and saving their money.
A study just came out that 40% of social media users impulse purchase because of social media. So listen, I just want you to always remember, like, it is okay to buy stuff online. I shop online. I use, social media to find clothes and all of it. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's when the impulse kicks in, when you weren't planning on spending the money, if you didn't have the money, or if you were spending out of this level of trying to keep up or comparison, which can happen so fast when we're scrolling through social media, let's be honest. So just being very self-aware of why you're purchasing, and to remember, because comparison doesn't just hurt you emotionally, but also is hurting your paycheck.
And I personally think TikTok is getting really bad with this. I made a video recently on my second channel that was honestly just a rant video, getting really annoyed at the advertising on TikTok, whether it be the creators and their entire content is just based around selling random TikTok shop products to you, or the app itself showing you sponsored posts back to back to back. It was insane. And especially when we're talking about that app, because it's getting pretty close to the Temu level of really cheap crap. So you can have that impulse of getting a little RC car because it's only $10 or $15, $20. You end up buying it, it comes in, and it's fun for what, 30 minutes, and then you never use it again, and then some other ad pops up and you buy that, and the cycle continues. I know Amazon is just as bad for some people, but with how popular TikTok is in this day and age, and with how cheap many of those products are, I think it could be even worse for people's wallets.
So I'm 25 years old and have about $85,000 in cash in the bank, and I do live at home still. But I definitely want to decide whether to rent or buy in the next, say, 6 months.
Good.
Get out of my parents' house.
Okay.
So I was wondering what you would do in my situation.
Very good. I don't want you renting as a way of life. People get in such a hurry to buy. Well, renting sometimes is just patience. And so if you rented for 6 months and during that time you piled up some more money, and you had a real strong down payment, it caused you to buy a different property that was a better property, well, that would have been a good thing. But I don't want you renting for 6 years.
Okay, so to me, this was a very Zoomer clip. I don't know why they couldn't have the whole clip of Dave Ramsey just talking. They had to have random scenery shots. To me, it just screams TikTok brain along with the captions. But I mean, if young Gen Z kids watch this and are entertained and take the advice to heart, then maybe that's good overall for their financial future. But I do agree with what he says. There are so many people who hate anybody who rents at all. They always say that you're just throwing money into a fire or paying somebody else's mortgage, but especially in this day and age, with how expensive housing prices have gotten, it really does depend on where you live as well now. You could have possibly saved a ton of money renting for a couple years, waiting for the market to go down. In places like Florida, it exploded during COVID. Housing got ridiculously expensive and has been going down for quite a while now. So if you bought at the top, you are just hemorrhaging money. And honestly, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm in a place where the rent has not caught up with the prices of the actual homes here. It would be significantly more expensive for me to own. So I've just been looking for prices to get cheaper or other cheaper areas outside of where I live for whenever I do end up buying a house. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.